with Gorgeous George and Go. This is what we doing while we do it, baby. We rollin'!
Covering MMA from all over the world, this is the premier stop for all your combat sports needs. MMAjunkie Radio, the only show broadcasting live from the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. The lights are on and the mics are hot. It's time to get your MMA fix, junkies. Take it away, Big John.
Gorgeous George and Goes, are you ready? Junkie Nation, are you ready? Well, let's get it on.
From the fight capital of the world, inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Race and Sportsbook, you are listening to the MMAjunkie Radio Show, the only show that matters. I'm your host, Gorgeous George. With me, as always, is the devious and dastardly Goes, our ace co-host, back east producing Jumbo Josh. What up, fellas?
What's up?
What up? Not much. By the way, our trophy, our best media source, is ready to be scooped up.
Oh, nice.
So then that way I can complete the intro and remind everybody how we get down.
All 5 of them or just one of them?
Just one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's a couple that reside in Tennessee, and then the first year they gave out, well, the awards, they weren't doing an award show. It was just through the magazine. So it's the magazine, I guess. But they actually made printouts. But you know what? I'm going to come up with not a replica, but just something that celebrates that, because anytime anybody's ever come to the studio and checks it out, they always go, "Oh, what year did you win it?" And I say, "Well, there was 5 of them." "Oh, well, where are the others?" And so I think something to recognize it, but yet not have to worry about, we're stealing the figure, for what Fighters Only did or anything like that. So it's just something small for studio purposes only, and a little chest thumping.
Why don't you just have 6 made?
Ooh, you're saying we're going to win it this year?
Well, I'm also saying that, but I'm also saying
have we been
apparently
nominated?
You're a cheater, so you might as well.
Have we been nominated yet? I saw a press release come out for the World MMA Awards, but it didn't have a date. I read it over a couple times, and I searched the site, their social media, but I think it just said coming soon. So last year they did it during International Fight Week. I don't know what the case is going to be.
Well, the reason I brought it up is because I was sitting here listening to the show before us, and R.J. Clifford, Dan Hardy, neither one of them. R.J. says he believes at some point he's cheated on a test.
Come on.
But he can't recollect. Dude, off the top of my head,
he doesn't strike me as a choir boy, that's for sure.
5 or 6 of them. And then Josh was kind of on board with that. He's like, yeah, I've cheated on a test. I thought this was like more normal.
So did I. I think Josh, well, no, sorry, I think RJ's holding something back, man.
Think so?
Yeah, what about Dan Hardy? What do you say?
No.
He's never cheated on a test?
Nope. He's fallen asleep during a test, but never cheated.
Wow, I salute them, man. If that's the case, I salute them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you talked about from kindergarten all the way to high school, college, whatever level of education they finished, they never cheated.
Apparently.
They're lying. Now I think they're lying. There's no way. All right. So, here we are 22 hours later. When we left you last night, we were talking about the big news of the day. Conor McGregor had been arrested. That's right. The former UFC featherweight and lightweight champion was arrested on, all right, it was a robbery, right? They were calling it strong arm or whatever, the wording they were using in Miami-Dade County, but basically he took somebody's cell phone. Somebody tried to take a picture from him, stole it, broke it, snagged it from him, broke it, and then took it. So whatever you want to call that, I just want to say there was an incident in Miami. Since then, he has posted bail. He was released from jail. Lots of camera crews caught up with him there, and he went out for a jog, a late-night jog. Posted on Instagram to his fans. Kept it really, really simple. Talking about patience and the virtue that it is. And, now some other news is starting to trickle out. Like the victim's family speaking out against McGregor. And more people are chiming in via Twitter. This was pretty big news. Anywhere I was looking on the television yesterday it was there. And so, we want to bring you up to date about that from what we've been able to gather since then. And we're going to touch on it, throughout the show. We want to hear your thoughts as well, Junkie Nation. It'll also be part of our daily debate. So we'll cover all the news and got a couple guests your way, but we definitely want to talk some Conor McGregor. 877-FIGHT-93. 877-FIGHT-93. And let me say it this way, 877-344-4893. 344-4893 is Fight 93. I would think it's easier to say Fight 93, and then you just put it in your phone, and you never have to worry about it again. You just hit that. These smartphones are so easy nowadays. You just hit it while you're driving. You call in and say, all right, these are my thoughts on McGregor.
Mm-hmm.
So, goes. In the last 22 hours, what have been your thoughts on this silly mess that took place?
Well, first things first, he released a statement, and, man, I didn't really care when I read it. I was just kind of like, well, that doesn't make sense. You were crazy like less than 24 hours ago. You can't give me this Instagram post where you're trying to not be that.
Mm-hmm.
But then again,
I liked it.
I guess I'd rather have that than nothing.
Right. Well, what I liked is that there was a recognition of being at fault. Here's what he says exactly. Patience in this world is a virtue I continue to work on. I love my fans dearly. Thank you all. He left it brief. He said something, and although he didn't apologize or say he was sorry, I think he recognized I'm the dumb one here. Not for my actions, we're not talking about this. We're talking about UFC Wichita or we're looking forward to UFC London. Who knows what? But instead, the most popular, the most famous figure in our sport had a mishap. Yeah. So I liked it, to tell you the truth. I think it could have been better, but that's coming from himself. He didn't have to go through PR
it
or nobody.
It did seem like it came from him, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. A lot of times you'll see a fighter put something out, and you can kind of tell when it's not them.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've talked to a lot of fighters long enough to be able to tell who's saying what and who's not, and that one seemed like it actually came from him.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, his family is saying that he's pretty shook up. He was a McGregor fan, and I don't think that going forward he's going to be a McGregor fan. But what do you think is going to happen at this point? Do you think McGregor just apologizes, buys him a new phone, and what?
They dropped the charges?
Yeah, I mean, here's a bunch of memorabilia. Let's just leave this alone.
So.
Because he's supposed to come back and has a court date and all that shit. And I'm telling you, that's where the whole pain in the ass is for this overreaction.
Yeah. No, I don't think so. I mean, I'm 40 years old. 30 years ago, The Undertaker yelled at me. I haven't gotten over it. I'm still pissed at that.
You were a kid, though. He was a man.
Yeah.
You were a kid.
But still, I mean, I don't think that guy's going to get over that, especially in this day and age when you see what comes out of these type of situations.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's say it was you.
Yeah?
No, can we just hear a quick 30-second version of how The Undertaker yelled at you? I mean, I'm intrigued. I don't know about you, George. You might know the story. I've never heard it.
He was there. We snuck backstage. We had a system. I was maybe 10, something. And
it was at the Honda Center in Anaheim.
As he's walking out, I had a disposable camera. I snapped a picture of him, and he completely went off on me. And using very foul language. And anyway, he goes off. He sits off kind of across from us. And I figure, all right, maybe he just doesn't want a picture taken of him out of character or something like that. So I even went over and offered to delete it. Or you couldn't delete it back then. I offered to give him my disposable camera that had 30 other pictures that I would love to keep. I said, hey, peace offering. That wasn't having it. It was still kind of a dick.
I didn't remember that part.
Yeah. Well, it was your idea. You told me to go over there and do that, and I did that.
What did he say?
Little ghost, too, walking over there. It's not like I was like, hey, sir. What would you? I was like, if you like, I can delete all these pictures. Like, he just kind of said, get out of here or something like that. I was like, God damn.
I remember at that point just being frozen, but I could have sworn at one point I yelled at him and I told him, 20,000 people just took your picture. You're tripping over a kid?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Elvis was there too.
I mean, it wasn't like a bright flash in his eye. I mean, you should expect kind of that. From what I saw in the back, it's horseplay. That's what we were able to see is horseplay. In fact, was that when he was buried in the coffin and by Yokozuna?
No, it's when he spun Yokozuna. So he put Yokozuna in a
He
coffin.
put Yokozuna, yeah.
And then when the coffin got to the back, his buddies grabbed the coffin and started
spun it
spinning
around, and Yokozuna was like, "Hey, stop it, stop it!"
Yeah.
So once they're out of character, they go through the curtain. It's in the back, everyone's giving them each other a pat in the back and high fives or whatever. But it didn't look like a formal setting or anything that like that.
This was in the loading dock.
Yeah, it didn't look like anything that was just like where a little kid taking a picture was out of line.
Mm-hmm.
Not for him to react that way. Now, was this also when we jumped in the freeway when we spotted him and we were neck and neck with him, but he was driving 90 miles an hour?
I don't think so. I think that was after that.
That was another
Yeah,
event?
yeah, because
we
I
went
was
to a couple
way
events.
older. And that's when somebody mooned him, right?
He
was with Paul Bearer, and he was going fast.
Oh,
and
dude.
Somebody mooned him.
I was trying to drive as fast as I can, man, and that guy drives fast. And he didn't know we were trying to catch him to moon him to get one over on him for cussing out goes. But it was hard to keep up with him because SoCal traffic at night. I mean, SoCal traffic isn't that bad, I guess, by 10 p.m. But still, getting out of an arena, you're still maneuvering. But yeah, that's what happened, Josh. So Goes has never gotten over it.
Yeah, I never got over it.
I mean, I just thank God that when Stone Cold was on MMA Tonight, he was super cool because that would have broken my little heart if I would have gotten yelled at for whatever reason. So it's scary when you meet your idol sometimes.
Check this out. McGregor is due back in court on April 10th, 5 days after the time runs out on the 6-month suspension issued by the Nevada State Athletic Commission for his role in the UFC 229 melee, right?
Mm-hmm.
I hate going just to argue a ticket, just to beg the judge to reduce the fine. You know what I mean? When they are ready to impose way bigger fines that are, I don't know. I just figured I know the guy's got a lot of money. I know that he's rich, but why would you want to get? You don't want to give away money like that. If you did, then you'd be having dinners and then just tipping $5,000 everywhere you went. If money's no object, money's an object still. When you're that rich, you don't just give it away like that.
Yeah, you spend more now when you make more. So
what does he think, that he's never going to have his picture taken again, that he sent a message? You see what I'm saying? You have to just think logically and clearly. But here's my question. If this happened at XS to you, and McGregor walks through this door, and he says, listen, I'm not going to try an Irish accent.
Yeah.
I'm already stuffed up. But he says, listen, I was out of line. Please accept my apology. I would like you to be a guest at my next fight, or here's some memorabilia, or here's a couple T-shirts. I hope maybe you're not a fan of me, but if you change your mind, here's some memorabilia. Something like that seems heartfelt and a strong handshake.
My mind would change a little bit.
Would you start thinking like either dropping the charges or even forgetting about and he replaces your phone or whatever, but also forgetting about anything you had in mind in terms of like a possible lawsuit or that whole
No, because the only thing that would make me really want to press charges or something is if I lost certain memories or certain things that I have on my phone. That's almost irreplaceable in my eyes. And I've had bad days, but my bad days go so far. They don't really escalate to that much. Like, had he slapped the phone out of my hand and taken the phone, I think it's a little different, but even jumping on it and all that, like, that's a little bit too much. So I would shake his hand and say, hey, thanks for the apology and all that.
But I'll be suing your ass.
But I know why you're doing this. You're not doing this because you feel bad. You're doing this because you don't want to deal with me. Then I'm going to slap that phone out of your hand, playa.
Oh, boy. Anyway, this is just a mess that nobody was expecting. It should have just been a nice holiday with his family. He had a nice party for his mom at the Versace
That's
mansion.
the part that sucks.
Yeah. And anytime around this time, we should also be hearing about a fight booking. You know what I mean? Especially when he's stateside. Boy, I would love to see him and Cerrone or him and Ferguson or somebody on a dais at a press conference of an upcoming show. That's what we should be talking about with Conor McGregor, not this bullshit. But whatever. All right. Our first guest is going to be Justin Willis. We're going to take this quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk to the UFC heavyweight. He's fighting Curtis Blades at UFC on ESPN Plus 6. It takes place next Saturday, a week from this Saturday. This Saturday, they're in London. The following week, they're in Nashville, Tennessee. Stay close. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back. All right, as you can tell, our next guest, Big Pretty Justin Willis, is on deck and ready to go. He is 8-1 overall, 4-0 in the UFC, coming off a big win over Mark Hunt a few months ago, and now he gets Curtis Blades on March 23rd at UFC Fight Night 148. Big Pretty now joins us on the hotline. What's up, Justin? How you doing?
What it do, baby?
Not much, man.
How y'all doing?
Good. Welcome back to MMA Junkie Radio. You're on with George and Goes. I was looking back at your 4 wins, right, in the UFC, and it looked like the UFC early on just had confidence in you because you've always been a main card guy. You were main card in the first one against Mulheron, and then the next 2 were featured bout, which is right below co-main event, and here you are progressing to UFC Fight Night 148. You're in the co-main event slot, so from the very beginning, it seems like they've given you a lot of respect, and they're ready to like showcase you. You know what I mean? That Hunt and Blades are solid names.
Yes, sir. I'm ready to capitalize. They know that it was just a process. You know, it's one of those things where, I just had to get. You know, I've been evolving as a martial artist, and I'm here now. And now I'm ready to take on anybody and everybody.
And right now, heavyweight has a lot of little storylines going. Excuse me 1 second. And, for example, Junior Dos Santos just won his 3rd consecutive fight. And Miocic wants his title back. Brock in DC is being talked about. So there's a lot of, like, I guess even my man Francis Ngannou, same thing. He's starting to stage a little bit of a comeback. So things are really heating up. And what I wanted to ask you, Justin, is do you think you're being overlooked? Or do you think the stage has been set that on Saturday you're now in that talk?
Exactly. You know, that's one of those things where, once I take care of business on Saturday, then, you won't have a choice but to look at me seriously. People are already looking at me seriously, but, upon that moment, hello world. I'm excited for that moment.
I love it. Justin, you've been in a situation where you faced a legend of the sport and a guy like Mark Hunt.
Yeah.
And then you've also been able to derail some up-and-comers along the way. You got another one here. Yeah. Which one feels better in your eyes?
The thing when you fight a legend is they have such a cult following. I would have to consider that like a cult following that, people are just with them, win, lose, or draw. So, being able to feel that type of energy, that was just another step in the evolution of me. So I'm one of those people where I just soak it up. I soak up the energy, and it makes me stronger. I'm one of those type, I don't shy away from shit. So being able to experience that and be hated, and in that country, too. Not just in, the event itself, but being in that country, walking around when people on the streets are saying you're going to die, and, being able to overcome and, and get to, to conquer those moments, that taught me a lot about myself and, and what I'm, capable of. And, man, I'm just now scratching the surface, to be honest with you.
Since day one.
But I have to say that.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, since day one when you came in the studio, you've really blown us away with some of the things that you've said, your approach to life. In 2018, what would you say is the one lesson that you learned, the biggest lesson that you learned about yourself that you're applying to 2019?
There's been so many, but one is this is the pretty weight division, and everybody knows it. You see people doing the black power fist now, so I understand people are watching, but people, so I gotta understand that after this fight, I'll be that guy in the UFC.
Now, another thing I like about this matchup is in the Mark Hunt fight, you were anybody that felt like, okay, you got your hands full. They were obviously talking about on the feet. Hey, Hunt's a decorated kickboxer, and man, you put on a really, really nice show. Almost a clinic that night. Here you have more of a wrestling-based fighter. So do you see it that way as well? Like not only the challenge, but the ability to answer the critics? Because the critics will always come with every matchup. You know, the next thing will be, well, now if he gets a main event or a title fight, does he got 25 minutes in him? So there'll always be a way to answer the critics. Is that something that you enjoy and thrive doing, or is it just more about proving it to yourself that you can hang with the strikers, you can hang with the wrestlers in whatever specialty they have?
It's about me. It's about me. I'm a complete martial artist, and I'm becoming more and more complete every single day. You know, so like when it comes to Mark Hunt, you know, he was a striker where people thought that he'd be able to drown me in his striking, and that's just, you know, because even guys like Mark, what's his name, Brock Lesnar, didn't want to strike with him and took him down. You know, guys like the fight before took him down. Curtis Blades took him down. You know, to me, that's cowardice.
Oh wow!
You know, we like, you know, and we're in a game where, you know, literally, this is a kill or be killed game, and you know, I'm going after to kill everybody. So when it came to people tell me that he was a striker, I knew in my heart of hearts that I was a better striker. Just like with Curtis Blades, I know I'm the better wrestler. And that's not a pride thing. That's a thing where I put in years and years of hard work of being the nail. And what I mean by being the nail is you know, when it came, I with Kane and DC, I was their sparring partner, literally the only one that stuck around for years, and until I learned how to become the Hammer. You know, so my question is to him is, I haven't seen in any fights where he answered correctly the moments where he became the nail. He automatically went to what he was comfortable with, and that's wrestling. And I am utterly comfortable there.
Gotcha.
So my thing is, we'll see. We'll see how he responds because of the feet. I mean, my power is, you know, especially, I mean, you can ask Mark Hunt. I mean, if he admits it, where he didn't really want to be touched anymore when it came to my left hand.
Mm-hmm.
That's why my jab was really the only thing that was really available. Mm-hmm. So I just used that.
Yeah.
When he came inside, he caught a knee. When he started drifting over, he caught it like so. I'm a guy where I take what you give me. And if he comes in with that blind double leg that he does, he's going to get his lights put out. I'll say it like that.
Justin Willis is our guest here on the MMA Junkie Radio Show. He'll fight Curtis Blades on March 23rd in the co-main event slot at UFC Fight Night 148, also known as UFC on ESPN +6. All right, so Big Pretty, we had you on after your fight, but I'm not sure if you had the time to process what you did. So after we had you on, and you know, it's been a couple months, but did you ever just kind of like 2-3 weeks later hang back, maybe when you're just chilling out, you know, sitting in your favorite lounge chair and think to yourself, hold on a second, I just dominated Mark Hunt on the feet? Like, did you ever have a chance to like bask in it and enjoy that? Because that was pretty amazing, you know, to see you do that. And I would think that along the way, yeah, the wins are great, but how you win is you can take pleasure in that too.
Not really, man. You know, like I'm just here for just proving myself right. You know, when it comes to my legacy, like I always knew that I would be here. I always knew that I would have to overcome people who they thought would beat me. So the thing with Mark Hunt is, I don't really like basking. Like, even when you see me striking, I don't bask. I keep on going. I keep on going. I keep on going. You know, because the moment that you bask is the moment that you get overcome. One of my quotes that now I'm going to make it popular is, when they relish, I catch up and I barbecue their ass. You dig? You get it?
Like it.
When they relish, I catch up and I barbecue their ass.
Yeah, I like
you know, so you know, so I have to make sure that, you know, one of my things is no, I don't stop and I don't think. You know, maybe one day, you know, when I'm old and retired, or you know, when I do retire, I'll sit back and I'll say, man, I did that. You know.
Yeah.
And I think that's the moment where you do that.
So you're always just pressing forward, not looking back.
That's it, man. Brick by brick, outwork them all, and just trying to do more than I did the day before. Either mentally, physically, or spiritually.
Mm-hmm. A fight I really wanted to see was you and Tai Tuivasa, just because it seems like every time he's interviewed, he'll circle back and still talk about fighting Big Pretty, Justin Willis at some point.
Of course.
And do you like those build-ups? Do you keep an eye on them?
The reason why he got knocked out by Dos Santos. He was focused on me and not Dos Santos.
Uh-huh.
So, it's one of those things where, I gave an interview earlier and I kind of talked about this where, the more an opponent knows, the more that an individual knows about their opponent, the least they know about themselves. And, he's one of those guys where he's full of pride and ego. And so, when you're fighting a guy like me, if you're entrenched in that, you have no chance because I'll feed off of you. I'll eat you alive.
When was the last time someone kicked knowledge to you? Because you always kick knowledge on this show, and we love it. I really enjoy hearing your takes, whether it's the personal stuff or just your approach to the game. But when's the last time, I guess, somebody said something to you that really had you like nodding in approval, like, wow, I didn't think of that, or where you learned something?
A lot of people do. The world does. What I see does. I have friends who are very, very, very intelligent who do. I have people, so a thing about a wise man is, my thing is I attempt to find other wise men to commune with. So a wise women to commune with, and that's how, I continue to evolve. And I have a team of people around me that are very wise, including Dwight Grant, and also I don't know if everybody's heard my hype man yet, Rashad Hassan, a very wise man. So the people that are around me are very, very wise and very, very intelligent. So I'm always growing.
Mm-hmm. And this is a question for you, and goes: do you guys feel like all lessons come from those that are wiser than us, or can you ever think back to when somebody taught you a lesson or whatever, but maybe they weren't a smart figure,
Nah, man. People do dumb things every day.
I feel like I learn from everyone. I always try to learn from everyone. I never disparage anybody for what they do or how they present themselves. You know what I mean?
Even a baby can teach you. A baby can teach you how to be fearless. So there's you can get lessons from anybody if you actually anybody anything if you just sit back and watch.
Yeah. Justin Willis again, our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. You fought twice in 2017, twice in 2018. Do you like that pace, or do you want to pick things up? And the reason I ask is because not that your recipe is working here, bro. Everybody knows who you are. You're out there handling your business. But I have noticed in the UFC, when someone can pull off 4 fights in a year, it doesn't have to be like the calendar year per se, but just in a 12-month period, it's like all of a sudden their stock rises and they're calling the shots within their division. Everybody's on the tip of their tongue, their name's rolling off. Have you thought of having like that type of a run in 2019, or just circling back to maybe your last fight, December 2, 2018?
My thing was always once a quarter. So, I would say this. When did I get signed by the UFC? Was it last March, right?
Your first fight in the UFC was July 16, 2017.
2017. So, so about you're right. So, I guess every 3-4 months I'm fighting.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a pretty good knock, especially, with the way that I progress in between each fight.
Right.
So my only goal, bro, is to get a belt. Like my goal is not to really I love the fans, I love everybody, but I'm not in it for them necessarily or per se. I'm in it for my legacy, and I'm in it to actually show people who were counted out, the underdogs, that they can. So I'm just on the path of getting a belt. And when it comes to calling the shots, I mean, I'm the one that told Curtis Blades we fighting.
You're the A side?
Well, essentially, right? People are there to watch me. They're not going to be there to watch this guy. This guy is born. Not born, not just to fight. The fights he's born, personality-wise, he's a born guy. So people are obviously there to see me. And that's a fact, Jack.
All right. We'll keep it short, man, because it's pre-fight. I know you got some tough workouts going, but we appreciate you always squeezing us in. It's always great having you on the show. And I can't wait for this fight on March 23rd, you versus Curtis Blades. That's a great one.
He's a boring guy. Just admit it. Just admit it, right? He's a boring guy, right? I might just talk out of the side of my head.
Okay, listen.
Right? If he's not a boring guy, you tell me he's not a boring guy.
When we've had him on the show, he's pretty straight. He's pretty straight to the answer.
Straightforward.
Yeah, straightforward. We don't really laugh or joke around too much because I haven't been able to get a vibe off him. I'd love to have him in studio one day just to see if he's a serious fella, and if he is, okay, whatever. Or if he does open up. But you're right.
He's a policeman cop. His dad is a cop. I've done all my investigations on him. I know so much about him, and there's so much I didn't want to embarrass him. But it's one of those things where, I know this guy. He's born, you know what I mean? He was a guy where I was the guy out on the streets, actually, not to say looking for trouble, but in trouble. I grew up homeless and shit. So, I grew up the hard way. He's the guy who grew up on the porch. Daddy, get your ass inside. That type of guy. Nothing wrong with that. I'm really happy for him that he has parents. That's awesome. But we're not built the same. We are just not built the same. And the world will see that.
All right. Well, we look forward to it. Thanks, as always, for your time, Justin. We appreciate it. I hope you have a nice evening, man.
Hey, you guys have a great day, and thank you for having me on. I appreciate you.
All right. Thank you, sir. Folks, give him a follow on Twitter at Big Pretty MMA. Boy, every interview with Big Pretty is pretty unique, isn't it?
I was just about to say that. They're all different.
They're all different, but they're all fun. I look forward to them all. And I remember not having doubts, but just when the first time we talked to him, I just remember thinking, whoa, slow down with the championship talk. Let's see how all this plays out. But I'm telling you guys, when I saw him fight Mark Hunt, that was pretty amazing because he's right about one thing. A lot of people would avoid them hands, for sure. Yeah. I'll start with me. If I had the skills to get in the octagon, and you were crazy enough to go, all right, guess what? You're fighting Mark Hunt. You think I'm throwing hands with Mark Hunt? Hell no. And I would be proud of the fact that I exploited not having to mess with his hands by taking him down with whatever wrestling I had. Remember, I'm in the UFC at this point. That's what amazed me about the fact that he actually beat him, in the stand-up. And I thought he made such a big statement. And going back to one other thing I said, JDS has fought 3 times in 8 months. And look at everybody's talking about, wow, could he fight DC if Brock isn't ready to go? They're starting to forget about Stipe Miocic. Anthony Smith had the 4 fights in 1 year. He just had a title shot. Thiago Santos 5 fights in the last 13 months. He might be getting a title shot. Izzy Adesanya had 4 fights in 2018. He's getting an interim title shot. You stay busy. You don't have to do it every year, but if you stay busy at the right time, I'm telling you, doors open because you're a commodity. You're a hot ticket. You know what I mean? For the promotion, the fans want to see you. The fans are willing to pay. The fans are willing to travel to see you fight, or that's when they host the party because all fans, believe it or not, cheer for anywhere from, I would say, most people I know like a minimum of 3 fighters. No one really just has 1 and that's it. So it's usually 3, and then I know a lot of people that have up to about 20. You know what I mean? Where they just love to travel and follow them. They'll download those interviews. They'll follow them on social media. They'll retweet that fighter. And then there's others that just because you're not doing all that doesn't mean you hate them, but you're just not a fan per se.
I can agree with that.
And so I hope Big Pretty has that type of year in 2019. Or like I say, just circle back to where you look at the calendar and go, hey, man, see there? In the past 12 months, I fought 3 times or 4 times. And I just think that this is a good pocket for him to do it because there's a lot of heavyweights that are kind of making noise, and those heavyweights are big names that get paid a lot of money.
But let them clip each other, too.
Yeah, that's true.
And then you just kind of pop right in through the door. It reminds me of, I don't know if you know the exact quote, maybe Josh knows it, but remember Roddy Piper used to say, was it once they know all the answers, I change the questions? He's that guy. Every time I think I have him figured out, boom, he hits me with something new.
Yeah. All right, we got a call on hold, so let's talk to this person. If you want to follow this person, it's 877-FIGHT-93 or 877-344-4893. Who do we got, Josh?
We got one of the OGs of Fight Nation, Marco from Waco.
What's up, Marco?
Marco from Waco, just get it right. And I know he's from MMAjunkie Radio. I go way back with MMAjunkie.
He does go back pretty far, huh?
He does,
Think
yeah.
about it? Yeah. What's up, OG?
To be correct, 2013. That's how far back I go.
Wow.
There you go. Damn. So, a little bit of a reaction to Justin Willis, man. I like what he's doing. You know, I mean, I think Curtis Blade is a great fight to make right now. But you know, he's gonna start running into those real marquee fights, man. So far, he hasn't got that marquee fight just yet. You know, Curtis Blade is a good step in the right direction. But we need to see it against the Junior Dos Santos, the Derek Lewis, the Francis Ngannou, the Stipe Miocic. So we have to stick him against that. But until we see something like that is going to make real noise, that's all it is right now. It's noise, man. But I like what he's doing.
What about Hunt?
You know?
Hunt isn't marquee?
Huh?
Yeah, he's not marquee.
I know Hunt. Hunt is like a big deal in Australia. We hardcore know him.
Yeah.
But the mainstream does not know him as well, you know.
Okay.
So, Hank was a good win, and he also grabbed him at the tail end of his career too. So,
but I only bring him up because I see your point. I'm not gonna sit here and argue that. But Hunt did beat Lewis, and you mentioned Lewis as being one of those names that he needs to get past. So maybe that's just a matchup thing or whatever. But I guess I was just trying to say that if you don't think Hunt is that name, because you're right, he's I think mid-40s now. He's like 44. To beat Hunt in the stand-up and then to beat Blades, if he can do it on the ground or just do it in general, I think that right there is you're part of the marquee group, in my opinion. There is another level, you know, that's the contender level, but I felt like Blades was just there. It's just that he got beat by Ngannou, so I don't think he'd be too far off.
I think it's a perfect progression.
Yeah.
You're right. But, I mean, if I'm like his manager, I'm telling him, hey, man, let some of them beasts up at the very top pick each other off, and then you just scoot
Which is,
right
I think,
in.
something that is probably going to happen.
Through.
I think it's going to happen.
Yeah. My point is like for example, like a name like Alistair Overeem. That would be a marquee fight for him because everybody knows Alistair.
That would be a good match. That would be a good fight.
Yeah. Real quick on Wichita, man. Our boy Derek Lewis, lost, but he made a good showing of it. It was an entertaining fight. But I'm not too hard that Junior Dos Santos keep the fight just yet, man. Honestly, because I still remember him getting knocked out so quickly in the first round. I mean, I know it's a trilogy. He technically won the first fight that a lot of people thought he won it. But what do we do with Junior, man? I mean, he should be like ranked according to the UFC, not according to the MMAjunkie rank. He's number 3 right now. What do we do with Junior, man? I mean, Francis Ngannou is saying he wants him. I would love to see that fight. What you guys see? Peace out.
Okay. Thank you for calling in. All right, so here's what I see, Marco, from Waco. I really believe DC and Lesnar is just going to happen, all right? I've accepted it.
They waited too long, right? It's
right.
going to happen.
Right. DC having that back injury, the timing isn't the end of the world because, for one, he extended the retirement date of, what was it, March 20? March 19th, whenever his birthday was. Oh, I guess it's coming up. And Lesnar seems like the right timeline to be able to appear at WrestleMania and then start an MMA camp. So if that's happening, what you can do with Junior Dos Santos is one of two things. The Miocic trilogy or the Ngannou fight, which he is warm to. But if I'm Ngannou's people, I'd say, no, I don't want to wait till August because Junior Dos Santos wants to wait till August because he says he has the birth of his daughter in May coming up, and he wants to be there. He wants to be a family guy and then start a camp culminating in a fight with August. I would go back to what I just said. I think Ngannou is on fire right now. And Ngannou, I mean, remember, he got beat by Stipe Miocic and then followed it up with a poo-poo fight against Derek Lewis. And in 6 months, he went from totally chic to totally geek, right? And then all of a sudden, everyone's starting to talk Francis Ngannou and getting excited that he got over the mental block. I mean, he just was not pulling the trigger against Lewis. And he was not huffing and puffing in these fights like he was after round 1 of the Miocic fight. So whether it's now back with the team in Paris or being able to manage Vegas time and Paris time, I think he's got a good beat on it. The mental block, he's gotten over that. I think
Kane's a good victory.
I think it's an amazing victory. I think he could benefit from fighting sooner. So I think Ngannou Miocic becomes a reality, and you could and so where does that put Junior Dos Santos? It could put Junior Dos Santos against Big Pretty if Big Pretty wins. Maybe running it back with Overeem, but why would Overeem want to do that? Overeem's like, hey man, I already beat you, so I don't think I want to run this one back. But these guys get paid a lot of money, and sometimes if you want to stay busy, you will do it. And maybe I'm wrong about that, but that's all I can think of is one of those two names, unless he wants to catch someone coming off a loss like an Alexander Volkov or somebody. But otherwise, I think he's gonna have to be the trilogy or the Ngannou fight, and maybe they can talk him into doing it sooner. Or whatever, but again, it all depends on how Ngannou decides to do his thing. If Ngannou, he's gotten DC's attention. Remember, Kane is DC's brother. You know what I mean? That's his brother from another mother, his teammate, and both DC and Big Pretty want a piece of Ngannou. So we'll see. We'll see how he plays that. All right, we got to take our next break. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation, Channel 93. Stay close, and we will be right back.
Seemingly can't agree on anything.
Everybody knows it's duck season.
Rabbit season.
Duck season.
Rabbit season.
Whether it's food,
Less filling.
Tastes great.
Less filling.
Tastes great.
gambling,
Always bet on black.
I like red.
Black.
Red.
Black.
Red.
Black, dummy.
or even social media,
Instagram.
Snapchat.
Instagram.
Snapchat.
the same applies to the biggest stories in MMA. Time for MMA Junkie Radio's Daily Debate.
Man, you know we're headed in the direction of Conor McGregor. That's been the big news the last 24 hours. So that's what we're going to be talking about here on today's Daily Debate. We invite you all to call in as well. 877-FIGHT-93. Give us your thoughts. Here we go. Today's hashtag Daily Debate question for at MMA Junkie Radio. Conor McGregor's latest run-in with the law is blank. It goes, fill in the blank. Here's how you can fill it in.
Okay.
It's no big deal. It's just a hiccup. It's a bad sign. Or, hey, this could be career-threatening. You notice how I escalated there using the tone of my voice? So what do you think?
I'm going to go with it's a bad sign.
Okay.
Here's why. Normally, I think I would say it's a hiccup. But one thing that people don't bring up too often, one of our callers brought it up as well, this dude's on a work visa. Okay? You can only get away with so many things before they threaten to take that away from you. So let's just say that were to happen, then that doesn't mean that he can't fight in the UFC ever again, because UFC isn't just stateside. So I wouldn't say it's catastrophic. But that would really hurt, not being able to fight.
He's a Vegas or New York City fighter.
Yeah, over here. So I think it's very problematic. I'm going to go with that. Well, and not just that, but
You feel like he's inching on
he's getting close to getting banished here. And you got to remember too, like,
I think it would take more than that, though, wouldn't it?
Well, I mean, what happened in Brooklyn was not the greatest of things.
But where you're just banned from leaving or entering the country? Or?
Things are getting tight, man.
I think, okay, so you're going with a bad sign. I think
Yeah.
it's no big deal, and I'll tell you why. Because growing up in L.A., I've seen a lot of celebrities go through, we'll call them hiccups.
Okay.
Or speed bumps over and over. Like, I can't tell you how many times Lindsay Lohan just fucked up, man. Whether it was drugs, DUIs, disrespecting judges. And yeah, eventually she did land in the pokey. But what didn't stop happening is an opportunity to entertain. Maybe the trajectory of her movie career went in another direction or whatever it is she wanted to do. But there just always seems to be an opportunity for her to make some money or be tied into something, a reality show or whatever. And for Conor McGregor, he happens to be able to do what not a lot of people can do, and that's fight and sell tickets to his fight or pay-per-views at a level that's basically unmatched. So the UFC is going to do what they can to protect them. Now, the question says his latest run-in with the law. All of them accumulating. Brooklyn, Las Vegas, future run-ins. Yeah, that could result in something. But this latest one, I think it can be fixed. You don't need no Michael Cohen for this one. Some minor league dude can fix this one. This is an easy one. You go to the guy, bring some memorabilia, hopefully an apology from Conor, something that just says, hey, that was my bad or whatever. You obviously replace the phone, and I think you're on your way. If you have to, maybe there'll be some sort of a lawsuit that you have to deal with, but I don't think it'll have to be some major payout. And again, it's not anything he can't afford.
But you're looking at it only from the fighting angle. This dude can keep fighting in the UFC, but he also has to keep winning to be able to sell this many pay-per-views. And right now, that's kind of not happening for him. So if I'm managing Conor McGregor, I'm saying, hey, man, what about these suits we're putting out? What about this proper 12? There are a lot of fans that just don't like, they're entitled. And they don't like the idea of them not being able to snap a photo or whatever. They get upset. So if I come over here to the beautiful Mandalay Bay and I order whiskey and I go, what do you got? And they go, Jameson, proper 12. And I go, you know what? Screw that, Conor McGregor. Give me some Jameson. I think that's going to happen a lot. If I'm buying a suit, I might have gotten one of these Conor McGregor suits just to try it out. But now I might say, give me that Armani instead, or Dockers in your case, whatever. I think it can affect a lot of the stuff that he's doing outside of the cage. So I think in the long run, whatever he was going to make this year, chop some of that off because of an incident like that. Like Lindsay Lohan, yeah, she's not getting in jail, but she ain't doing anything, right? When's the last movie she put out?
Well,
Paris Hilton?
I think I see your point, but I think whatever he was going to make this year didn't just get cut in half. I don't know if I'd go that far. Anyway, there's the Daily Debate brought to you by the MMA Junkie Radio team. We will be back in about 60 seconds to do our number 2 of the MMA Junkie Radio show. We'll also be joined by Mike Bohn. We'll get his thoughts on Conor McGregor's latest run-in with the law. See what he says. So stay close. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Marks are the new tats. They are Gorgeous George and Goes.
All right. Let's put the Conor McGregor talk on hold for just a sec. Unless you want to chime in, 877-FIGHT93. We'll take that call. But what I mean is a lot of fight cards are being filled right now. And there's some really, really good fight bookings that have taken place in the last 48 hours, I'd say. One that really, really got my attention has to do with a fight card that's taking place on ESPN. So back in the day, we used to call it a big Fox card. Well, this is a big ESPN card because it'll be on ESPN. It's called UFC on ESPN 3. It was called Romero versus Costa. That's right. Yo Romero was going to fight Paulo Costa, except Paulo Costa can't go. So now it's Romero versus Jacare 2. Ronaldo Souza will step in for Paulo Costa and face Yoel Romero on April 27th at the BB&T Center in Sunrise, Florida. Now, Yoel Romero did go on Ariel Helwani's show and hinted that Costa's removal had to do with USADA. He then wound up walking it back. That's nothing that's been confirmed. So that's good to hear. Although I would still like to hear something. One way we'll know that, you know, what the setback might be is just to have Costa rebooked on another fight card. Now, Shoeface, who was in Junior Dos Santos' corner. Shoeface is Antonio Carlos Jr. He was calling out Paulo Costa. He wants to fight him 1 month later. Actually, it's like just weeks later in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil at UFC 237. And I'd love to see that, but I really wanted to see Costa versus Romero goes. Not that I don't want to see Romero versus Souza, but I really wanted to see Romero versus Costa because it was a fresh matchup, and it would tell us just how good Costa is if he can get past Yoel Romero. And if Yoel Romero can get past him, well, then guess what? We have to entertain the fact that Romero could fight for another world title at some point before his career is over. And remember, he is now in his 40s, so there may not be too many of these opportunities. And Aldo Souza, boy, that guy can't catch a break. He lost that key fight to Kelvin Gastelum. That's the one that hurt him the most, because otherwise he'd be fighting for a world title. He now speaks a little bit of English. He's really rounded out his game. But because Israel Adesanya had an incredible year and Kelvin Gastelum has not had his title shot, and he owns that win over Ronaldo Souza, Ronaldo Souza's just basically standing there waiting. He's got to wait for the interim bout to take place, and then the winner of that fight's the undisputed. So I guess he didn't want to sit on the sidelines, and he figures, let me get this Romero fight back. Romero's got to be one of the scariest fellows one can fight.
Definitely. But going back to Costa, I mean, one of the most detrimental things to your career that can happen is to get that violation, right? And some people, you could say it affects their legacy. No matter what they do, they just can't bounce back from something like that. So I would imagine, if I'm a fighter, and that rumor gets thrown out, if it ain't true, the first thing I'm doing is letting everybody know it ain't true.
Well, out of Paulo Costa, nothing came out of it. But his manager did respond to the USADA violation rumors. This is from Walid Ismail, former NHB fighter and MMA. Walid Ismail. He said, quote, he didn't test positive for anything. That's it for now, end quote. I think it could have been a little bit more thorough, but I think that does enough to quell the rumors that's not the case.
I mean, I hope not, because you're right. It's an up-and-comer. It's a guy that we feel like could take that next step, and he's fun to watch. Great guy, too. He's been here in the studio. Very, very cool guy. Very easy to get along with. Very marketable, not just in Brazil, but here in the States. You'll want to see a guy like that fight. But I don't know if sometimes we get a little too hardcore, and I just want to know. I want to know what's next for the guy. What can we wait? What can we anticipate?
Now, there was an interview that was done with Tatame, and what I don't know is when this happened. And I don't know if this is as a response to Romero's allegations or what, but there was a quote that was part of a story that I had dug up, and he said, I'm the Brazilian UFC fighter who gets tested the most by USADA. This is Paulo Costa talking. I never failed a doping test. I didn't this time. I don't need doping to get all the good results I've been getting to be regarded as the new Brazilian star in the sport that I am. I believe that's pretty recent, but that's something I wanted to be 100% sure of. So that, along with his manager, does make me feel better that just wasn't the case, and hopefully it's just a small, minor injury that can get addressed, and we'll see him fight sometime in 2019, second quarter. First quarter's almost done.
Do you feel Yoel Romero, if that does come out that it wasn't the case, he needs to come out and apologize or say something?
He walked it back. He took it back, but yeah,
but he did, but not really either.
Yeah, that's not enough, because I would imagine Yoel Romero wouldn't like that for another athlete to do that to him. Your first reaction would be like, motherfucker, what'd you just say? If that ain't true, you know what I mean? It's not like saying, man, I heard Paulo Costa snores, and then the other guy goes, no, I don't, and then they just laugh it off and give each other a noogie or whatever. You know what I mean? That's no big deal, but when you start saying stuff like that, that's not good. You can't joke about that. You can't joke about domestic abuse. You can't joke about somebody uttering something inappropriate. That's just the way things catch fire on the internet. Bad for business. Let me update that card, since I wound up pulling up the whole fight card. So anybody that wants to go to UFC on ESPN3 on April 27th, they know what they're getting. It's Yoel Romero versus Ronaldo Souza, Jan Cutelaba versus Glover Teixeira, John Lineker versus Corey Sandhagen. That should be a good fight. Carla Esparza versus Lavinia Souza, Andre Arlovsky versus Augusto Sakai, Diego Lima versus Court McGee, Jason Gonzalez versus Jim Miller. Jim Miller's still chugging along.
Yeah, man.
Does he got 30 UFC fights?
I don't know if he's there yet, but he's got to be close, right?
Jody Escobar versus Jessica Penne, Greg Hardy versus Dmitry Smoliakov. That fight card can use a little bit more pop. How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I always feel like each fight card, the goal is to get 12 fights. So I feel like there's 3 more coming. It could use one more quality matchup, because this is big ESPN. And big ESPN is holding up their end of the bargain. UFC's advertised all over ESPN, not just their radio shows, their TV shows, their tickers, their website. They've done well. I really tip my hat to ESPN in the way they've, embraced the sport of mixed martial arts and really didn't just discount the fact that they're giving 1.5 billion, I believe, to the UFC for 5 years, 300 million a year to be able to broadcast the UFC. It wasn't just a move where it made business sense, but we're not really into it. No, hell no. They look like they are into it. So a fight card on Big ESPN, I want to see one more quality matchup. Well, hell, I'd like to see 3 more, but I know how it is. You got all these other pay-per-views.
One more A level, B level?
I need to see an A level and then 2 B levels.
About 2 C pluses and an A.
I'll take that.
I think you're asking for too much.
Well, what did I just say? I said an A level. Oh, an A and 2 Bs?
I don't think you're going to get that at this stage. I think what you could get is an A and 2 C pluses.
Okay.
Or a B plus.
What's really popping right here? Romero and Souza for sure, right?
Yeah.
Lineker Sandhagen for a junkie is popping, but not for mainstream.
Casual.
Right. Teixeira's a name. Cutelaba, though, is not a name.
Right.
Not to say that that's not a good matchup, but again, we're talking mainstream. Carlos Esparza versus Lavinia Souza. It's a good hardcore match. We understand that they're both ranked. Arlovsky carries a name. But yeah, you're right. So this needs a little bit more like where's old Dustin Poirier? You're always thinking, where's Dustin Poirier? You put Poirier in there and like, okay, take my money.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But that's what that fight card needs. And then I think I'll be a little bit more satisfied. All right. Now, we got some fight announcements to make. The last 48 hours have been pretty busy. And the big one, I would say, is Valentina Shevchenko, the UFC flyweight champion. She will be defending her title at UFC 238 in Chicago, Illinois. She takes on Jessica Ai for the women's flyweight title. Now, a total of 3 WMMA matchups were made, but 2 more to go. Nina Ansaroff fights Tatiana Suarez. That's a solid fight. I could see one of those 2 walking into a title shot. Whoever wins that one could possibly walk into a title shot.
Nina's upped her game lately.
Oh, yeah. She's got some wins. No disrespect to Joanna Jędrzejczyk. I think Joanna Jędrzejczyk always feels like she's next. I think she knew she couldn't make a case to take Andrade's spot, but because she literally got the 2 fights in a row against Rose. But if Andrade wins, it'll be interesting because I know Joanna will say, well, I beat Andrade, so I should get a chance to slip in there. That's why Suarez and Ansaroff is important. If one of them looks great, has a great post-fight speech, is active pre- and post-fight on social media, they do the rounds on television, on the internet, everywhere, radio, then I think they may be able to stave off Joanna Jędrzejczyk. But if they don't, Joanna's a popular figure in women's mixed martial arts, and I could see her possibly slipping in there and getting the title shot.
Oh, my God.
Now, at flyweight, this isn't insurance for the title fight. It could work that way. I think Joanne Calderwood is 2-0 as a flyweight. Caitlin Chukagian just took a loss.
Joanne pops, though.
Had she not, I thought maybe they could have been insurance for the title fight. But they do fight in the flyweight division, and it's nice to always be on the timeline as the champion. So I like the matchup between those 2, and stranger things have definitely happened. So if something were to happen to Jessica, I would look for maybe Joanne to get moved up, or unless they have other ideas, I don't know. But those are the 3 matchups for UFC 238. That one can also use at least 2 more A-level fights, and then we need some Bs.
Well, what do you categorize the main event as?
A.
So you want 3 A-level matchups?
Yes, because Valentina, I don't think, has proven to be a pay-per-view star yet. So you need to sell the pay-per-view, and to do that, you need to get some big names.
Damn.
That can help carry that. I think the fight card. I think Chicago supports, so they'll come out and they'll buy tickets. But you got to sell that pay-per-view. So you put a quality co-main event along with a good feature bout, And I think for sure Ansarov and Suarez stays on the main card. And then you just give me a firecracker like it's a C+ or B.
Will those two ladies be the last two fighters to walk out that night?
That's a great question.
I'm going to say no.
Cejudo Dillashaw would be nice on this card.
Mm-hmm.
That means they would be the main event and she would be the... But see, the reason why they might not make it is because is Cejudo established as a... Well, in this case, it'd be TJ defending his belt against Cejudo. Are they established pay-per-view stars as well? I don't know. And I don't know that the 1-2 punch of Shevchenko and Dillashaw defending will give the UFC what they want. So you'd have to have like the return of Nate Diaz against Tony Ferguson in the featured bout. Then maybe you can have the two title fights just hang on their own. But otherwise, I think you're going to have to...
That would be a great card.
Huh?
That would be a great card.
Telling you, man, my future is as a matchmaker.
I don't know. It's that easy, though.
Dude, all I would do is tell Dana White, listen, you guys are fucking it all up, right?
Uh-huh.
Give me a black American Express card. Let me hop on this plane and talk to these young fellas. I'm telling you, we'll squash the numbers. We'll figure it out. We'll hug it out. And all of these guys that are feeling disrespected, despondent, you know, we'll make sense out of it, and we'll get them. We'll get some fighters that may have retired a little early fighting, or the ones that are just hanging back. We'll get them fighting. Everybody will be happy again.
You don't think we make too big of a deal of all this? I mean, they're building more performance institutes. Like, they ain't hard up for cash. Whatever their recipes are, whatever their analytics are that come back, they must have it figured out, dude.
Perhaps, but at the same time, I see a lot of stars are aging, and the 20-somethings, there's a few of them that you look at and go, okay, I see something here, I see something possibly here, but nothing on the level of McGregor or Ronda or Brock. I don't see that yet.
That would be your dream job within mixed martial arts? A matchmaker?
Or a fixer.
Like the Wolf? Winston Wolf?
Yeah, like a fixer for a promotion. Just getting them to sit down with their talent and
like a mediator.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
Fixer sounds more street though.
Yeah. I thought you meant like almost like a Burt Watson.
In the case of the UFC, for example. Oh, the site coordinator?
Well, I thought like you were like how could I put it? Somebody that...
First of all, I love my job.
Uh-huh.
But if you were to pull me out of this, one that I've always appreciated is I think I have an ability to read the fight game and forecast it, right? Which is what a matchmaker does. You look at the card, you look at who's healthy, you look at who's ready to bang, and then bam, you start constructing it. I think they have a difficult... I think the toughest part of their job is just telling a fighter they're fired. Hey, you've got 3 Losses in a row.
You're going to be the Grim Reaper?
No, that's the tough part. Oh. Is that. But for the most part, putting the fights together, just give me all those names. We'll figure it out. You know how there's 12 fights?
That's a stressful
The tough
job,
part is
man.
main and co-main. That's the tough part. That's kind of what Dana does. Him and the matchmakers do it. But I think Dana's really, he calls himself one of the matchmakers. The other guys just have to build fight pass through the featured bout.
I'd be a scout. I think scout
would be fun too.
The dream job.
Oh man, I'd be setting a lot of fools straight from the very beginning. That ain't gonna work. Did you see what you just did? As soon as they walked through that curtain, I'd say we can't walk back out there, but you dropped the ball, and we'd start fixing things. And even if they tell me I'm shy or I'm respectful or I bow or I'm this, we would figure out a game plan so that it would help the promotion and again help you. I'm not trying to change somebody. But I do believe people can make way better efforts on many sides. See what I'm saying?
Mm.
So I just like the term fixer. What do you think about all this, Josh?
I mean, I think, George, you're giving yourself a whole lot of stress, and a whole lot of people would be unhappy with you one way or the other. Goes, I like you, right? Yeah, I mean, dude, a matchmaker. I'm not sure. Yeah, there's no way you make. I think in every fight you book, I mean, 1 or 2 people might be happy, and then the entire rest of the division could be, pissed off.
How often are fighters tweeting, "Oh my God, what the fuck? Why am I fighting in Charlotte?" How often do you guys see that?
Yeah,
I mean, not about the location, but I mean, every Conor fight, how many people are upset about it?
Why am I on Fight Pass? I paid all this money for this Dookie card, and you're going to be on the other end going, I didn't plan it like this. It just happened.
That's the thing. They wouldn't be saying it because I could build a card.
But you have to. What about these guys that like fall out at the end or they don't make weight?
I'd say look at your ticket, player. I mean, I built the card. I can't help it that fools are getting sick, eating bad food, or stepping on a tack, or whatever happened, slipping on a banana peel and hitting their head. I can't help that. We got them their ticket. They all showed up. Hopefully they made weight, or if they didn't, whatever, that's on them. But as far as building the card, we'd have sellouts. We wouldn't have complaints.
You know what my day would be like? I'd be watching Sports Center, a little bit of March Madness, and then I'd go, oh, that's right, I have a job. And I'd pick up the phone, I'd go, Greg Jackson, who you got, player? Anybody cool? And he'd go, man, I got this beast. I'd go, give me that number. I'd call him up. I'd go, hey, send me a couple DVDs. Hey, Dana, here you go. This is a new guy. Boom! My day's done.
You know what my dream job would be?
You sound like Mask from the reality show. I think the first call he put in was the Greg Jackson. And high points for you goes. I'll buy you a nice dinner if you can tell me who Greg Jackson supplied him with too, on that first episode.
Oh, the first one.
I think it was the first or one of the first. He actually made a call to Greg Jackson. I think it was the first.
Okay.
And he actually had a similar phone call to that. Mask, by the way, is one of the founders of Tap Out. Tap Out, by the way, it used to be a very popular sponsor before Reebok came along. He died approximately 10 years ago this month. So, huge loss to the MMA community. While Ghost thinks of that, Josh, you were going to say something?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to stop on you there. My dream job in MMA, now, other than the Conor Habib melee, there's like one or two security guards I see at like every UFC pay-per-view, and they get to do the walkouts with the fighters. That is my dream job. I want to have that security guard job. Now, if there's a riot, I'm dipping out. Other than that, though, that's my job. Walk out with the fighters, brush some fans' hands out of the way. Sign me up.
So you want to be Reed Harris? That's what he does.
I'm gonna Google that. That might be who I'm talking about.
Reed Harris is the former general manager.
He might be talking about like the commission
WC.
guys too.
He kind of walks out before, and he'll kind of brush a couple hands aside, but he's not like maximum security. Where if a big fight breaks out, he wasn't paid by the commission or by the arena to sort all that out. There's a funny story of him chasing somebody down in Brazil. Somebody I think stole on Matt Brown's jaw. Remember that story?
Yeah.
So Reed can get down. He's a purple belt.
He was like Johnny
in
Utah.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But I think more than anything, he's just there to make sure that, hey, no one does anything stupid. Especially when Dana White's at a Lakers-Celtic game and not even watching his own damn show. But, did you cheat or did you get the
I know a bunch of them, but I'm going to go with Johnny Hendricks.
No.
Okay, Donald Cerrone?
No.
Demasio Page?
Uh-huh.
That was the one? That was the first one?
Angel of Death.
Wasn't Cub one of them too?
Because he goes, give me a dude from the streets or something like that. He goes, I want them all tatted up. And I remember he specified the tats, and the Angel of Death had some. But I believe that was the first guy. That show wasn't bad. It really wasn't bad. You think about it. I liked it. And then
I just didn't like when they would go to commercial, and then you're just
don't tap out.
Don't tap out?
That wasn't so bad.
I don't know.
All right, we got to get
Liberty.
young Mike Bohn on. Young Mike Bohn is one of our outstanding writers here at MMA Junkie and USA Today Sports. We're going to talk a little bit of Conor McGregor, see it through his lens. He's always traveling, and he has a good finger on the pulse of the sport. So maybe he sees something that we don't say. Remember, Ghost thinks this could be pretty bad. This could
he has the potential
start to be a sign of something bad. I'm kind of dismissing it as not as big of a deal. We'll see what Mike Bohn thinks when we return.
This is Mike Bohn's walkout. He's coming out in overalls.
He's not really that type of dude, though.
Damn! Hey, idiot! Yeah, you. Can you please tap that rather large fellow on the shoulder and tell him it's time for more MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Goes? Thank you.
Whose walkout song would that be in the UFC?
Jim Miller? Well, he's got a great one, but... Nah, hold on. I don't know.
I feel like it felt like countryish at first, but I feel like there's an Irish ring to it as well. Can't be Connor, so like a Joe Duffy or somebody.
Maybe.
What jam is this, Josh?
This is Drunken Lullabies by Flogging Molly. I thought it might be appropriate for Connor. He might be stocking up on some proper 12 right now, and it's Irish.
What do you think Mike Bohn's walkout would be, though? We're gonna ask him right now. What do you think it would be?
I know. He's in Toronto.
Oh, I know what you're gonna do.
So I'm right away thinking Drake.
Yeah.
He likes basketball. I'm
taking Jay-Z.
No, why would he do that?
I'm just saying that's because you're gonna take. Otherwise, I'd take Drake. But
so we're on the same. So now pick the song. What's a good Drake song?
I don't know. But I'm just saying. I think that's who he would walk out to.
He likes basketball, blunts, and bitches. So is there a Drake song that encompasses all that?
Every rap song?
Yeah. What's up, Mike Bohn? How you doing?
I'm pretty good, guys. How are you?
What's your walkout song?
I think I try to be very patriotic if I was a fighter. Try to rep the home country, so I'd probably just go with the Canadian national anthem.
Canadian national anthem?
Are you sure? Like, is there more of a Canadian song, or an artist that's Canadian, but no way, you're not walking out of this.
Come on, you guys don't love it?
That's so. I mean, okay, Mike Bohn.
You know what? I would hate it at first, but I think it would grow on me, and then like I'd get to the point where I'd go, "Shut up! Mike Bohn's walking out." Especially if you like relish.
I'm picturing Mike Bohn, 9-1, just won at LFA, he just got signed by the UFC. Right now, if this was like GSP doing it, then yeah, you know what I mean. But I'm just. Mike Bohn's debuting in the UFC. He doesn't own the UFC. He's not a superstar in the UFC just yet.
You know what? There's no GSP. There's no Rory McDonald. There's no Valios right now. We need someone here to take the baton for Canada and rep them. Everyone keeps saying, who's the next big Canadian MMA star? Here you go, the guy who puts the country on his shoulders.
All right. Well, maybe I got it wrong. Okay. Mike Bohn writes for us on USA Today Sports, Rolling Stone, MMA Junkie. He's here to talk a little bit of Conor McGregor. What were your first thoughts? I know there was a tweet out there. I don't have it handy, but aside from the tweet, what were your first thoughts when you saw that Conor McGregor had grabbed some dude's phone, stomped on it, and then took it, Mike Bohn?
Just here we go again, more or less. I mean, just trying to absorb the whole thing, figuring out the details. Obviously, I was working last night too, so kind of more so like absorbing it and trying to, think about the repercussions. We're kind of just in work mode, kind of news breaker mode, and trying to, figure out all the different angles of it. But it's just like, another incident involving Conor. It didn't sound, of course, at the beginning you hear the charges, you hear strong-arm robbery, you hear criminal mischief. Like, you don't really know the exact severity. Then the details come out more and more, and it's just like, obviously, in comparison to, say the bus incident or some other things, this isn't all that bad, but it's not good either. I mean, it's another thing with him. It's another legal issue. Like, I would have told him if I was, on his team, and I'm sure they did. I hope they did. Coming out of that bus thing, it's like, man, you need to keep yourself, like, completely on the straight and narrow here, especially when you're in the United States. Like, you can't be having any more legal issues in that country, because who knows what the repercussions of that going to be. So you just wonder, the fallout and what that's going to be, and we're still kind of wondering about that and everything that's going to happen, even though we got a lot more details since the news broke. You still wonder exactly how this is going to play out for him.
Why does he do this?
I don't know, man. It's hard to say. Like, I can understand. I'm sure you guys have brought it up, like the whole celebrity situation they're kind of put in, people coming up to them and wanting to take photos and this, that, and the other thing. But it's also part of the gig. That's what you sign up for. That's, part of the entire thing. If you can't have it both ways, you can't sit there and be Conor McGregor and want to be the most famous person out there and, boast about all the money you make and how you're this, that, and the other thing. And then when it's inconvenient to you, do something like this. You can't have it both ways. It's just the way it goes. We've seen it over time. It's not like he's the first person with some celebrity to have an incident, somewhat like this. We've seen people, smash reporters' cameras, things like that. Like, this thing has happened in the past. But with Conor, just not ideal. And you just wonder the details, given coming out of a nightclub, 5 a.m., all these different things. Like, what was the thing here that made him so... snap in a way that he decided to take this person, knock the phone out of the hand, allegedly stomp it, and then take it away.
Look, I don't have facts or details, so I got to say it like this. I want to say first, is he a bad drunk? But I'm just going to say, is he a bad partier guy? All right, a bad party goer. So I think you guys know what I could be implying here, where he just reaches a limit of, because he's never struck me as a hothead. If anything, he's actually struck me as a guy who, though he has these layers, with security people and the aura of Conor McGregor, he's one of the guys that actually embraces the fans and, will sign when he can and has always said it's not for them. We wouldn't be here. Whereas you hear of stories of fighters that, I want nothing to do with fans. They actually really, really don't even like the interaction with fans. So do you think, guys, Mike and Goes, that it's a case of he's just a bad party goer, he reaches a limit and can't hold his drink or anything else, and he turns into a hothead? He actually comes out of his shell, and he's not even he's a jerk. He turns into a jerk.
I would say a lot of the things that he's done, like Brooklyn, didn't involve alcohol or party scene, right? That was something that he had a lot of time to think about and plan.
Yeah.
So I would say he's more of a hothead.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. We don't have too many of these incidents. We've seen, other videos and stuff pop up of Conor partying at clubs and those type of things. We've never really heard of an incident like this. So it just makes you wonder about all the outside factors. What was it about exactly what was going on at this moment? This picture, what was potentially in the picture, the person that was trying to take it, what were they taking a photo of exactly, who was Conor with, all these different things. There's got to be something about this particular situation that happened that kind of made him snap a little bit and decide to do what he allegedly did. So it's going to be interesting. The TMZ has posted an interview, which we now have up on the site as well. It's the lead story, talking to the alleged victim from this, and he explains what happened from his perspective, and he also claims there's video of everything that's happened that's going to be coming out soon. So I don't know how soon, but if there's actual video of exactly what's going to happen, we'll find out all the answers to these questions in pretty short order here. So we'll have a much clearer idea of how to kind of decipher this. But yeah, I just go back to there was clearly something that Conor did not want to be photographed or anything like that, allegedly, at that particular moment that made him act the way he supposedly acted.
Do you guys think he's a happy fella? I don't know what I'm trying to say. I would just think that the guy would have everything he wants. I would imagine the guy could have everything he wants, that these incidences shouldn't happen. Yeah, his friend got disrespected and slapped, but you're right, Goes. He had a lot of time to react to that and see, ooh, okay, that's
a bad idea.
That's not good, but I wasn't there at the time. You could blame it on, your blood boils at that time. But to fly across the fucking Atlantic, rounding up a crew, and no one in that crew said, Conor, this is dumb. You know what I mean? We're going into the United States, and we're doing this, and this could get you in a lot of trouble with your employer. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't understand what's going on, but I just don't understand how at some point you can't be a happy person and enjoy the riches, all the fruits of his labor, and all the money he has, and the family that is growing. I think he's got a boy and a girl now.
Mm.
Yeah, it's tough to really dissect because I don't think any of us here can put ourselves in that shoes. We don't know what it's like to have, millions of dollars in the bank to have pretty much anything or anyone you want in life at your beck and call, and to be just in that mindset. And, you're just the guy when you walk into a room, no matter who's there. It's something I couldn't even really imagine being in that situation. And I don't really, everyone handles it differently. We've seen how many situations over, our lifetimes before, people come from X circumstance, they make a ton of money, it changes them, it turns out horribly. Like this is basically, and our colleague Ben Folks wrote a pretty great column today on MMAjunkie, basically explaining this. It's like almost like the typical celebrity tale, and we're not in a situation where Conor, rumors of bankruptcy or anything like that. It's just seems to be these reoccurring legal issues stemming from very poor decision making that seems like it could be easily avoidable if you're in the right mindset or you have the right people around you. It's very confusing. I mean, this one just seems totally unnecessary, and I'm very curious to see when Conor eventually does speak about this, what his side of the story is, because we pretty much have every other side of the story so far. We have the police report, we have the alleged victim, we have even the family members of the alleged victim, the brother, the father speaking out as well, but we haven't heard from Conor, and I don't expect that to happen anytime in the next few days. He obviously has his arraignment hearing not till April 10th, so that's several weeks away at this point, pretty much a month away, and we're not going to hear anything fresh from his side, I don't imagine, until then. So it's very interesting.
Mike, all this attention that he's getting, we've heard in the past, and I know this doesn't apply to every single thing, but sometimes you hear them say there's no such thing as bad publicity. In a time where he's not fighting and his name is still getting thrown out there, I know that right now it doesn't seem good, but in the long run, just the attention that he's getting and all that, is it kind of just a drop in the bucket for him?
It's hard to say right now just because we're so close to him. We don't know how this thing is ultimately going to shake out. Like, we don't know whether he's going to plead innocent, plead guilty, whether these felonies are going to hold up, if they're going to be downgraded, all this stuff. It's just very complicated. I mean, I could totally see us, 5-10 years down the line being like, oh, remember the Conor McGregor Miami story where, he broke the guy's phone or whatever, and, we'll just, bring that up as one of the many Conor McGregor anecdotes that we'll be, looking back at his career. I could totally see that, and it just not being that big of a deal. But right now, I mean, it's too soon to say whether this is, going to be something that we'll just kind of look back and, brush over, or if it's going to be a serious problem, because his whole thing, and like I said off the top, especially in the United States, getting into these problems, he got very lucky in Brooklyn, and the timing of this is even, I don't want to say perfect for him, but beneficial to him, because that case is closed at this point. There's going to be no correlation unless, the judge of this case or whatever wants to look into his record if it gets that far, and kind of use the past. But in terms of, it's not like he broke parole violation or anything like that. But he needs to be concerned if stuff like this keeps happening and you have an inability to compete in the United States. If he has issues with his visa, that makes so many different problems, because obviously fighting in the United States is where the UFC is able to promote the biggest events, where you're able to get the biggest pay-per-view buys, all that different stuff. So if he ever gets in a situation where he's unable or has very serious difficulty fighting in the United States, that's going to be a huge problem for everyone.
Should that situation come up, I would imagine the UFC would be irate, but in a way, can you almost label them as an enabler because of maybe some of the special treatment? Like you said at the very beginning of the interview, you would think that what happened in Brooklyn was a great opportunity to grab him by his wrist, sit him down, and say, dude, what are you thinking? You got to walk a straight line from here on out. But that didn't really happen too much. Could people maybe look at the UFC as an enabler of this behavior?
I think so. I mean, what did they do in Brooklyn? They did nothing to actually punish him. What was Dana White saying in the immediate aftermath of that great interview John Morgan got inside the Barclays Center after all the chaos settled down with Dana White?
He was sick to his stomach.
Going off, this is going to be so bad, just pretty much going off about how terrible this is. They're going to punish Conor. They didn't do a damn thing to him. So, they have not taken any real action against him to deter future behavior like this. So, you could definitely put a little bit of the blame on them.
The voice you're hearing is Mike Bohn. Follow him on Twitter at Mike Bohn, MMA, M-I-K-E-B-O-H-N, and then MMA. He writes for our website. He's our stats guy. Very talented. Mike Bohn, so in the end, what do you think happens here? Just after covering these types of cases for so many years, I'll even use the wording that we used on today's Daily Debate. You think it's going to be no big deal, just a hiccup, a bad sign, or career-threatening?
Probably just a hiccup if I had to pick those four. I mean, we're not all, being ignorant or pretending to be stupid here. We know how this world works here. You have celebrity, you have money, you can get yourself out of sticky situations. He just last year got out of something significantly worse than what he did here, allegedly, according to the details we know now. And look what happened. I mean, ultimately it didn't deter him from future incidents, but he got away with something pretty severe in the past. He's had issues with driving tickets and stuff like that back home in Ireland. Hasn't really caused any serious damage to him. So assuming things hold up to how they are now, and the way I look at the American legal system and how people like Conor McGregor are treated in circumstances like this, I can't imagine that anything truly serious comes out of it.
Okay, one last thing here. I was able to kind of skim through that article that Magnificent Morocco did that you alluded to that was on our front page about what Ahmed Abdurzak had spoken with TMZ. From all I can tell here is there was an encounter as they were both walking through the Fontainebleau in Miami as they were walking out of the Live nightclub. Everything took place outside, right there in the hotel lobby valet area. Is there still something that's missing though that may have happened in the club that led to this, or is this just Conor McGregor was actually pissed at that dude for taking the picture, took the camera, and that's it? Like there's no story of anything happening in the nightclub at all or earlier in the evening.
No, I'm going to say that there is. There's an article, if you're able to sift through the 10 million ads on dailymail.com in the UK, they got a video. I don't know exactly where they inquired. I think they pulled it off someone's Instagram story who was there, but there is a video of Conor in the club, and it very much looks like he's yelling at someone. There's a few different videos. There's him up in like the booth with some girls just hanging out, having drinks, and then there's like a video where it's kind of far off, a little bit more in the distance, but it is clearly Conor, and he looks not happy at all. He looks like he is, yelling at someone. So I don't know if it was the same person. You can't see that clearly at all. It's kind of far away. It's dark. There's music playing, all that kind of stuff. But he is clearly getting emotional or fired up about something, and I don't know if that had anything to do with the same person, something completely different, anything like that. But something was going on in the nightclub earlier for sure.
We know he's in a little bit of trouble, and he'll get out of it. All right, who do you think he fights and when, Mike Bohn?
Man, I don't know. That's a really tough one. This thing, his first arraignment is April 10th, so I imagine the UFC isn't going to book him before then, but I'm really not sure. I mean, we saw Dana White. I don't know if you saw that tweet with the three big smiley faces earlier today. That's usually only something he puts out there when he's booked something big or something big is happening, and you can't imagine there's anything too much bigger for the UFC than getting a Conor McGregor fight. But I had heard that they were hoping to have him fight International Fight Week in Las Vegas in July. I imagine their timeline for that is still trying to make that happen, unless something crazy happens here that throws that off. But I think that's their goal, and I don't really know who he's going to fight. I mean, the Cowboy Cerrone thing seemed like it was the front runner. Now it's kind of got all weird with what Cowboy said about the whole main event versus co-main event thing. Now there's this legal issue. Like Cowboy, I don't think wants to wait around too much longer. So I really don't know. That thing is very complicated at this point. It's tough to say. But if I had to guess, I predict he'll fight sometime in the summer, assuming this isn't significantly bad for him.
Yeah. Man, we could talk about this dude all day, but we'll wind down for now. Thanks so much for joining us today, Mike. Always great to hear from you.
No problem. Anytime, guys.
All right, we'll see you. Again, on Twitter, at Mike Bohn MMA. You guys will really like his tweets. It's very informative. Been doing this for a long time for the site. We're lucky to have him. All right, when we come back, we'll talk about Conor McGregor's partner, Dylan Dennis, and Ben Askren. Ben Askren's been roasting him on Twitter. We have a little bit of audio as well, so we'll touch on that when we come back. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation, Channel 93. Stay close. NFL free agency is here. Tomorrow afternoon at 4 Eastern, the start of the new league year begins in the NFL. One channel will bring you all of the trades, signings, and more as they happen. Check out SiriusXM NFL Radio, Channel 88, and streaming on your phone and at home on SiriusXM connected devices and speakers. All right, so we're going to go from McGregor to McGregor's homeboy, Dylan Dennis, who kind of has a mouth on him for only being 1-0. He's an amazing submission grappler. Don't get me wrong. Popular with Bellator. A lot of this comes from being McGregor's, submission grappling coach or whatever, jiu-jitsu coach. But he also knows how to run his mouth, and he does it in the way where he pokes and prods, and maybe he's even had a measure of success. Whatever. Even Scott Coker goes along with it. But one guy's not taking too kindly is Ben Askren, and you know that if you get Ben Askren's attention, you better have a gun at that gunfight, because if you come with a knife, he will mess you up. So let's talk a little bit about this Twitter beef that they're having, and I think we'll start off with some audio of Askren roasting Dennis. Hit it, Josh.
Hey Dylan, remember when you told Conor that you were a better version of Khabib and had him ready for the fight? LOL. Boom, roasted.
Dylan, you didn't even place at the high school state tournament. You suck. Boom, roasted. Damn. Yo, Dylan, who do you consider more your daddy? Conor McGregor or Gary Tonin? Boom, roasted. Damn.
Yo, Dylan, teenagers in 2004 want the hair back. I mean, seriously, who bleaches their hair anymore? You suck. Boom, roasted. Damn. Dylan, you're fighting someone who's 3-2 next because Scott Coker knows you suck. Boom, roasted.
Damn. And all this comes from a spot that Dennis did on Ariel Helwani's MMA show, where he basically called him the easiest fight ever. Now, okay, I get it. For one, you're in Bellator, he's in the UFC, but I get it. Poke and prod, and Ben Askren was, a hot number, coming out of that Lawler fight. But I don't know if you can call him the easiest fight ever when, for one, the dude's a world champion in 2 different organizations, and now he just answered the biggest question ever, and that's, can he hang with the guys with the UFC? Yes, he can. He's never lost. They're just not in each other's stratosphere, but he decided to go there, and Ben Askren let him have it.
I don't even know if there's much of that Dylan can really say in a comeback, just because he doesn't have the experience that a Ben Askren has. Like, there's not too many things you can fire back. If Robbie Lawler would have taken care of business, then maybe you could poke a little bit there,
right?
But there's not much to say.
That shred of doubt is there, but he, the dude won. Say what you will about the fight. He's the one that still got the W, and Lawler got the loss. Even if he talks Ben Askren into, they can't fight because they're in different organizations. But even if he talks them into, we'll settle it in grappling. I don't know that the UFC allows Askren to do this, and they do this anytime soon. So it's all just chatter. So all you're doing is basically poking a bear, because that's what Askren is.
But nothing bad is going to come of it.
Or a tiger. He's a Missouri Tiger, I guess I should say.
Nothing bad of it can come to Dylan. That's what he wants. He just wants his name to be out there. I don't blame him.
Dylan Dennis.
He's taking shots, though.
Is comparing Ben Askren to Rocky Dennis.
Poor Rocky Dennis.
Yeah. And he put up I guess, what was this, a meme?
Yeah.
Okay. And it's got Mike Goldberg saying virtually identical, which is what he used to say, or still does for Bellator. He's roasting back, but I don't know that he'll be able to hang with him. Askren seems to be a kind of a maestro, and he's just got the stats.
He's very clever in the way he says
Ben's even more successful at wrestling than Dylan is at submission grappling. As good as Dennis is in the grappling world, this guy's an Olympian.
Like, Conor's really good at the back and forth, but sometimes Conor has to be loud to get his point across, right? He has to almost become like a bully. Ben never does that, and I think that's what makes him so clever, is he always keeps that same tone, like he's just on a beach sitting there with a pina colada in his hand, and he just knows he's better than you. That's what I think makes him so funny.
Well, I I would say this was 10-8 in the first round, but Ben Askren just ground and pounded him when he hit him back, with a series of tweets. I'll give Dylan Dennis the fact that he called him easiest. He got his attention, and then he did the whole Rocky Dennis thing. But Ben Askren came over the top pretty strong.
Yeah.
You like these, right? I love them. But do you like them? I know Dan's not a big fan of them.
I don't hate them, but I don't love them. I think they're humorous. I just hate the fact that you're never going to see these guys settle it.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, you probably could have said something about
what if they were in the same promotion? Do you like them then?
Oh, yeah, I love them then.
Twitter beefs?
But you could even see the same thing about Habib, right? Like, they'll never fight. But sure enough, one of them was at the event and jumped the cage, and they did actually fight. So who knows? Maybe I'm crazy. But usually if they're in the same organization, I love them. Mm-hmm. But when they're just two guys that you just don't see are ever going to fight, man, I don't really. It's funny. I love the laugh, so I'm down with that.
Tomorrow on our channel, let's give a little bit of love to the Busted Open guys, the award-winning Busted Open show, 3-hour show Monday through Friday dedicated to covering the sport of pro wrestling with Dave LaGreca as the host, and he has Bully Ray, two WWE Hall of Famer co-hosts, Bully Ray and Mark Henry, and from time to time they're joined by Tommy Dreamer. They are going to have former Strikeforce and UFC Bantamweight champion Miesha Tate at 11 a.m. Eastern time, so she will do a spot on the Busted Open show tomorrow. I'm sure they'll be talking some Ronda Rousey.
Mm-hmm.
And also, speaking of Miesha Tate, her and Ryan McKinnell.
Get your hands away from my baby.
Big Mac, they will be hosting Francis Ngannou tomorrow on tomorrow night's MMA Tonight. That show is 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 Eastern. What time is Francis supposed to be there? He's going to be there for a whole hour, right, Josh?
7 to 8 Eastern time. A lot to unpack with the big man.
All right. Big thanks to our guests today, Mike Bohn and Justin Willis. We're out of here. Be champions.